Welcome everyone to the Layer5 community meeting. Today is the 10th of December, and we had a lot of folks join in on the community this week. So welcome to all the newcomers. And I think we have some new folks in with us on the call today. So uh, Hardik Patel. I think Hardik is connecting to the audio, but let me see. Shivayan, I think you are in this call for the first time. So would you like to introduce yourself to the community?
Yeah, hi. So I'm pretty new to the community and I'm very interested. I saw the architecture of Meshery and was very interested, and I thought like if I could contribute to it, it would be a great opportunity from I'm a final year CSE student currently in Jadavpur University, Kolkata. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for introducing Shivayan. It's really great.
Shivayan, nice to meet you. Can you add your last name in Slack or in Zoom, if you would?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, nice. Yeah, thanks. It's nice to have you on the call. It's great to have you on the call.
Awesome. And going down the list, Suryakanta Saho, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone.
Hi.
Am I audible?
Yep, you are.
Yeah, so currently I'm a third year computer science undergrad, and I'm quite interested in systems and databases. So currently I'm a beginner in Go. So I was exploring open source projects and I got to know about Meshery. So I've contributed not into so much into open source, still a beginner. So that's that.
Awesome. Did you by chance get an opportunity to join in on the yesterday's newcomers call?
No, this one is my first call.
Okay. So, yep, we had some sessions on yesterday's newcomers call, but don't worry, like we do have recordings. We do record all of our community meetings and they are made public on YouTube. And yep, hopefully we can help you with some resources so that you can start contributing.
Yeah, I looked up the resources like the books that were mentioned and so like what are service meshes. I was looking up onto them. Yeah.
Nice to hear that. Awesome. Suryanta, welcome to the community and it's really great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks a lot being a part of this thing.
Awesome. So, Ankita, I don't know if you had a chance to introduce yourself on this call. Would you like to go next?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Ankita, a pre-final year student at IIT Roorkee. Um, yeah, I was looking for some open source projects in the DevOps side because, like, really wanted to explore cloud and stuff. I had a previous experience in backend and front end and mobile development majorly. But yeah, this was one side that I really wanted to explore, and then I got to that repo of Meshery. So yeah, I'm looking forward to contributing to that.
That sounds really great, Ankita. Nice to have you here. And did you get a chance to go through some of the projects and did you see anything that interests you? And
Yeah, I was going through the project, but yeah, it's a little overwhelming for me as of now because I'm also a beginner with Go. So yeah, I have not been able to figure out actually what exactly I would like to work on, but yeah, some help would be really appreciated.
sure, sure. Sure. So we'll try to. I think like you will get an onboarding set of documents when you join the community and sign up on the newcomers form. So Did you get a chance to?
Yeah, yeah, I already did that today. The member form you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, I did that today.
Awesome. So yep, you can check some of those resources, and hopefully we will cover some areas where people can get involved on today's call. Uh, so yep. So thanks again for introducing, and welcome to the community.
Thank you.
Uh, all right. Is there anyone else who I missed? Who is new today?
I guess I'm attending the meeting for the first time.
Oh, Hardik. Hi, Hardik. So
Yeah.
would you like to
Yeah.
introduce?
Hi. Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Hardik. I'm currently studying in IIIT Delhi and doing computer science there, and it's my currently second year. And the reason I signed up for Layer 5, it's just I keep hunting for different opportunities, and I don't know if I have the skill set or not. I just first enroll myself into the opportunity, and then I just later see if I can develop in it or not. Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome, Hardik. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Nice. Hey, I'm going to mention a couple of things real quick, just because there's a few newcomers on the call, and some of us that might need a reminder, or a reminder might serve well. So, by the way, my name's Lee. So nice to meet some of you that are on for the first time. There's two resources that I would point out, actually three resources that I would point out. One is this discussion forum. It's discuss.layer5.io is the link. It's a great place to ask these types of questions. These are all great questions. It's a great place to keep up on what's happening in the community as well. There's a few community managers that are on the call now, and they keep abreast of all the goings-ons. They're also quite familiar with the spread of projects that we have and the technologies that are used in them, and can really help orient you very well. As a matter of fact, there's a number of people who dedicate their time every Thursday for an hour. There's a continuous newcomers call, the one that Navendi was just mentioning, that you're all welcome to attend multiple times. Like, I would encourage you not to attend just once, but many times. And if you're around here long enough, like, actually, it's a great call to present on, to like share a few things that you've learned on. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people out there that have the same questions as you. How does Git work? What is a DCO? How do I sign off on a commit that I've already made? Like, those might sound like easy questions. I don't know, they might sound like really difficult questions. Either way, I guarantee you they're difficult for a lot of people. So just random examples of like sharing with others. By the way, if you can't tell, in this particular community, everybody here is learning. Some of us are learning at different rates. Some of us are learning different at different levels, but we're all learning, which generally means that we're all making some mistakes. I would tell you, if you're not making some mistakes, then you're not doing it right. Then you're not learning correctly, or you're not learning fast enough. So go make a mesh of things and learn some stuff. While you do, like, contribute and help out your fellow community member. Share what you know. This is a great place to share what you know and to ask some questions. There's one of the significant reasons why we're using this particular forum is because the Slack history, lots of activity goes on in Slack, and it's very compelling to ask your question in Slack. The problem is it all gets lost over time. There's a lot of people who have the same question. So please make use of this forum to the extent that you can. So that's one resource I wanted to point out. As I point that out, I won't show this next thing, but I'll ask Bami or Deepak or Devapriya or someone else who's on the call later in the call, if someone could demonstrate the new custom Slack command for interacting between Slack and this Discuss forum, that would be really great. I think that's kind of a neat thing out there. So for all of you that are relatively new, and for all of you that are old timers, spend some time on here. We've got a few questions unanswered. So we award $1 million at the end of the month for those who've asked the most questions, and $2 million for those that have answered the most questions. Okay, we don't actually do that, but we'll say thank you with a big smile. We'll tweet your name out. We do a bunch of stuff with people. We generally harass people too, so watch out. All right, the other resource that I encourage you all to go take a look at, there's a bunch of resources, but one of them is the Community Handbook, which is out on layer5.io. This website, layer5.io, is open source. It's built by about 240 different people thus far. So you're welcome to come contribute to it. One of the recent additions has been a community handbook, which is still in the process of being refined and still in the process of being linked to, actually, since I had to manually type in the link. But there's a contributor, Yash, who's actually been extremely patient on and shown a lot of perseverance on trying to create a few links to this. So anyway, the great resource in here. Last resource that I wanted to point out was Hardik and I were just having a quick conversation about ramping up an open source and doing the open source thing and getting some pointers where to get going. Just like there's all kinds of things to talk about. There's mentorship programs like this. And I have to say, who here is on the call? Is a meshmate Anita with us? And if not, are there any other meshmates with us? Well, to my point, we need more meshmates. We actually do. We've had a few graduate and become meshmate emeritus, and that's leaving us a little bit of a gap. What I was going to say is I'm dumbfounded, appalled, horror-stricken. I don't know that like the meshmate program is not listed on this page. What are we doing? I don't know why it's not right here. Anyway, there's a program for questions like the good ones that Hardik was bringing up, and that's the fact that there's currently these 4 individuals in the community who spend a lot of time helping with those types of questions, and these are called meshmates. Why? Because we like portmanteaus around here. If you haven't seen a few of them, you will undoubtedly see more portmanteaus. Speaking of that word, which some of you might be wondering what it is, I also dropped another word, atrocious, into the chat, which is like just a reflection on some of the grammar that goes around here. Please, for the love of something, if you're going to communicate in a written fashion, please take a moment to be kind to those that you're communicating with and like add some punctuation, maybe a capital letter at the start of the sentence, maybe a period, even an exclamation mark sometimes. At the end, toss in a comma, a little prepositional phrase, some of this stuff. You don't have to be a whiz, but just like, please don't be lazy. And part of that is like being lazy is one more call. There's a little over 2,000 folks that are in the Slack. Lots of people super interested in the work that goes on here. A few of the people that are on the call were giving talks at KubeCon, 4 of them this week on the works that we do. Some really interesting stuff. And so there are only a few maintainers. Like there's the ratio of maintainers to contributors that have questions is upside down, or is not a great ratio. We want to change that. As a matter of fact, some of you might become maintainers someday, and that would be fantastic. Like, I can tell you, the other maintainers that are on the call, they'd love for you to become a maintainer. So like, go do it, go get it. But what I was trying to say is that please don't be lazy as you ask questions. Do your homework, do some reading. Don't make people spoon feed you, or you might be politely ignored. It's like, don't make it hard on the maintainers. They already have a tough job. And so, yeah, but reach out to a meshmate, grab one. And for those that have been around for a while, becoming a meshmate might be a next step for you. And I don't see Mr. Singaria on the call, but he comes to mind as someone who's more or less doing this today. Okay, oh, great. So I've completely digressed, pointed out a few resources. Please go engage, go check them out.
Yes. So adding to Lee's point on asking questions and asking for help, we do have a to-do list. We try to adhere to this to-do list where community members can ask for different tutorial topics, and we try to cover those on the newcomers call. So yesterday, so last week we had Gerard mention he wanted to contribute to Measure CTL, and so in this week we had a walkthrough on contributing to Measure CTL, basically setting up the environment, running, building Measure locally, and building Measure CTL locally, and all those things. So such sessions definitely have definitely helped new contributors. I mean, get better quickly and start contributing quickly. So do check those out and don't hesitate to add your own topics here. But as Lee mentioned, make sure that you do your homework, and there are a lot of resources that you get access from the Layer5 community drive. So make sure you go through that and try answering your own questions first before you start answering your questions. And also, since there are a lot of you who are new on the call, to point out the impact of the work we do here. As Lee mentioned, we had a session on KubeCon China a little bit earlier today. So we were talking about all the work that we have been doing in this community in the projects Meshery and Size Mesh Performance, and we were also represented at the CNCF tag network sessions. So yeah, so there is a lot of representation of what work we are doing within CNCF and within the cloud native ecosystem. So it is really impactful, and there is definitely a lot of room for more people to come in and make an impact here. All right. So moving on to our second topic for today, we thought it would be good to look into some areas where contributors can get involved. So one of our main focus right now is on Meshery. So Meshery is one of the projects that we work on the community, and one of the most popular ones. And what we have been trying to do right now is we are working towards the v0.6 release. And I'll just put this on top. So we have been trying to focus on quality. So Meshery is almost halfway there from the 1.0 release. So we are trying to drive towards making Meshery a more quality checked and a more rugged product. So as new contributors, one of the most impactful way you can contribute to Meshery and help advance the project is by being a tester, by being a very needy user. if that's a thing. So what you can try to do, and how you can try help us here is by just testing out Meshery, being a user of Meshery, and uh, reporting back to the maintainers, or opening up issues on any bugs you find, anything that any UX changes that you suggest, or any features that are missing. So that would be a really great way to contribute. And if you, especially if you are really new to the project, and if you haven't used it before, because most of us who have been here for a long time are really too close to see some of the issues that has been creeping in, and maybe like we have some prior beliefs that that might need to be changed. So yes, we would like to, so this is one of the most impactful ways that you can get involved. And if you go, so the screen I'm sharing is a test plan. So I just shared the link in the chat. So we have different test scenarios written on this sheet. So basically, what you can do is you can try walking through all these actions. You can run all these actions. These involve Meshery's CLI, Meshery's ETL, Meshery's UI, which is also another client. And
Actually, I'm going to interrupt just for a moment if I could, just because I think that people kind of get lost as we talk about a lot of this stuff. So like very directly, if you're here and you don't know Golang, you're looking to contribute to Meshery, great. Talk to Navendu. There's a lot of things to test. Be a power user and test some things. So for Mr. Sahu, like this is a great place to jump in. Yeah, at being a user of the software is a great thing to do. You might think, well, that's not a good use of your time because you're not learning Golang or furthering your knowledge in another language. And you would be completely mistaken. Like trying to use Meshery means that you're trying to use a service mesh. You're trying to use Docker. You're trying to use Kubernetes. You're going to do some networking. You're going to do a lot of stuff. You're going to use Helm. You're going to use Prometheus. You're going to use Grafana. You're going to use Jaeger. You're going to there's a long list. Cloud events, NATs. There's a lot of technologies inside of there. Maybe 1/10 of what's on the CNCF landscape. So there's a lot of tech in there, a lot of good things to learn. You'll definitely bump into a bug, which is why Navendu is focusing on this, on quality. And then you can go fix the bug in Golang. And so Mario just asked a great question about testing and quality. And one of the tools that we use to do integration tests is a tool called Cypress. Cypress is today's the new age JMeter. It's a modern tool for doing end-to-end functional tests driven from web-based user interfaces. And Mario Ariga, who's on the call, is well seasoned in this regard. So he's a great individual to, like, this is another great way to contribute to Meshery as a project, and come get yourself an internship if that's something that you're looking for, or a job, or and become a Cypress expert. Like we really need it, and you'll definitely learn a number of things in doing so. To answer Mario's question, there's a channel in the Slack. It is Meshery-CI, CI for continuous integration. It's a fairly appropriate channel to have Cypress-oriented conversations within. But if it doesn't feel like a good fit, don't let that stop you from cracking open another channel. All right, nice. Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm Navendu. I just figured folks might get lost as they look over the. So
Hey,
Nitish,
like I have one question. Like for these tests, like do we have to create these test scenarios, or like these are like some are assigned to someone and like some are open? So like we can work on them, or like we have to create new ones.
Yep.
I'm just waiting for Mario to come off mute. Mario will field that question.
What's the question? Sorry. Hello.
Yep, Mario. I missed the name of the individual that asked it, but I'm not going to repeat it for him. If he wants to know the answer,
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
ask it.
Yeah, he can go ahead.
Yeah. So am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So like I was asking that these test scenarios, like some of them are written. So like, do we have to create a new one, or like we can work on them?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, if we take a look, we can see that there's different kinds of tests, both for for the different components, Measure CTL, Measure Server, and Measure UI. If we take a look at, let's say, the second column, we see that the first maybe 100 might be for other components that are not like for the UI. But once you get to the you see Measure UI, it's UI, Measure Server. There's different tests, and totally, you can pick any up. There's a specific issue that where we're tracking in GitHub, in Git, in sorry, in Measure's GitHub repo, and that issue is to track Cypress integration tests. Yeah, please, let's just take a quick look. There's, to be honest, it's not like that. It's something. It's the way it is right now. There's not like a great or simple way to track which, let's say, which uh, that other spreadsheet, like a really easy way to see which area is for which issue, or like that's an umbrella issue. But if the idea is to we can just coordinate, and if you're interested in contributing, for now you can feel free to send a message in Slack's in the CI channel, and then we can get you started. And I do think it'd be good to have a separate Slack channel for Cypress testing, because the CI channel is, I think I see it as shared for other CI areas, GitHub action workflows, for the releases. So it's easy to get lost. But if people interested in Cypress testing can just subscribe to the Slack channel, I think it'd be good so that we can identify who are like avid at Cypress, coordinate work on that, and also if there's people that are really new to Cypress but interested in functional and integration testing with this tool and for measuring, we can just provide a set of ideas to identify like if learning areas where we can both share knowledge, but also build some resources. Like there's already some resources like a blog where a newcomer could just go through and understand how to run and work Cypress tests locally. Yeah, and for now, as Lee's writing, there's this spreadsheet to track like overall testing. But if you see, there should be some field where, yeah, if it's automated or not. And also there should be like, is there like an owner or assignee? I think it's the first, like you go to the beginning of, yeah, the tester. If it's empty and you see it's for UI, you can just raise your hand on the Slack channel or on the GitHub the GitHub umbrella issue for like Cypress testing. And just very quickly, I just like just to explain. So when we're talking about an integration test, we're basically writing a test where the only thing running in the agent is just the UI, and both the only the UI and the provider. So there are two different UI projects, both written in React and some other tools. So whenever there's a request sent to the server, what we do is that we tell Cypress to return a canned response, and you can just take a look at our Cypress. That's basically in Measure project. You could go to the UI folder, and then to the Cypress folder under that. And I suggest, like, if someone's very new, just follow the newcomer documents. But once you're out of that, you're in the, so are we in the UI? What's this folder? Yeah, UI. So Cypress. And so the fixtures folder is where we have like different like mock responses or stop responses. And we also define other test artifacts that we use on the testing. And so if we go, and also if we go into the integration folder, the difference between integration and INTUI is that integration will mark the server responses, and INTUI is something that goes against both server and UI. There's like either a couple or no mocked dependencies, and the idea is to run different tests. Also, okay, so E2E, I'm just looking at the chat. So end-to-end means it's something from the user perspective. This could be defined as user acceptance testing. In the context of the UI, we're simulating an actual end user going through the UI and doing different actions to as per acceptance criteria or requirements, use cases, and so on. Oh yeah, and Lee shared like community newcomers tutorials. So there you can find some Cypress details. Please go ahead, and if so, I'll try to I'll create a Slack channel for Cypress, and I think that'll be like a very good way to like so anyone can join and contribute, and we can coordinate like specifics of these efforts. I think that'd be very helpful.
Yep.
Thank you, Mario, and thanks, Hardik, for the question. Yeah, so there are also other areas that you can get involved in. So, Nitish, like, would you like to?
Yeah, actually, so I'm doing this to you all the time, Navendu. Actually, just as a topical continuation, Ashish, can you also talk about other types of integration testing that's being done, and if and where people might be able to collaborate?
So should I go ahead with my topic, and because that can segue into what I was trying to do?
Yeah, if you would.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. Hello.
Yep, you're back.
Okay, am I audible?
Yep.
Okay, so recently we added some end-to-end tests in all of our adapters. So what these end-to-end tests do is basically, so we have adapters, and adapters do a lot of things, and one of those things is to manage the life cycle of a service mesh. And what an adapter should at least do is deploy a service mesh and not fail to do that. So what these end-to-end tests do is that whenever someone makes a pull request, and on each commit we basically run this core workflow. What it does is it deploys deploys a cluster, deploys a service mesh in that, and this is very configurable. So for example, if we are using it for istio, we know that the pods of the istio control plane are like istioed and istio ingress and istio egress, so we can make certain assertions through it. And these tests can basically tell us that yes, even after this commit, we can this particular adapter would still be able to deploy a service mesh, so nothing is breaking. And this is important because we have faced this issue a lot, that something breaks and it goes underlooked. So these end-to-end tests really help in that. And we have integrated these workflows in almost all of the adapters. Maybe one or two are left for some given reason. But yeah, after a while, and we can extend these functionalities to basically make assertions on more than just the deployment of the control plane. So we can make assertions on whether the add-ons are getting installed or not. So like in Istio, we have two workflows. One that just makes the assertion that can we deploy a service mesh, can we deploy an Istio service mesh after this PR is merged, or will this break something? So these end-to-end tests are really helpful in catching those. Now, now segueing, and all of these things are, Naveen, if you can share this, the link to this doc, all of these things are well documented in this particular document. And now that would be a segue into extending the use of these particular end-to-end workflows. So currently what we do is that these workflows are kind of an intermediary workflow. So they require some input, and they spit out some output. So these inputs would be a pattern file. So I would not go into describing what pattern is, that would take time, but a pattern file can basically helps you define what your workloads are, and that workload can be, okay, deploy a service mesh. So we can set a pattern file, give it to this particular workflow, and it would try to run the deploy the pattern file, check if all the pods are up. And currently we stop there. So but what we would really need is to reflect these changes in a doc. So when the PR is merged, so we are on the edge, or when we make a new release, in both of these cases, we would want to know that whether the tests are passing or failing. So what I have added is that I have added basically whatever the output comes out of this particular workflow, we can push that into a file, and then we can use that file to, that file is basically a JSON file. Then we can convert that JSON file into particular read marked, then show it to the user. Currently the structure of this JSON file looks something like this. So for this particular Kubernetes version, and for this particular service mesh, and for this version of that service mesh, the adapter version is edge when the PR is merged, and when we make a release, it would be the name of that particular release, like 1 point something. The test was run at this time, and the pod status were okay, so everything was running. So this thing can be translated into a markdown file, and that can be pushed onto the docs, so that when we want to, so if someone faces any issue, we can basically ask them to go and check whether under that particular version things are running or not, because these workflows basically update the status of our current support for each other service mesh very dynamically. So this is what this particular thing does. uh, so yeah, that's pretty much it. And if anyone wants to contribute to, by start by writing actions, we have, the thing is that we have more adapters than we have people contributing to those adapters, because we are trying to support a lot of service meshes. So we have a bunch of adapters, and we don't have enough people to contribute to them. So if you are looking for if you are looking to start contributing, this can be a good place to go. You can start from maybe Istio adapter, and we have a lot others also, they also need some love. And sometimes what goes on to happen is that we make some change in the more active adapters, and the passive adapters kind of we forget about them, or we make change to them a bit later, like 1 week later. So you can go ahead and basically when I would make even more changes on these workflows. For example, for the next topic that I'm going to talk about is, I'm going to change a little bit of the core workflow. So these workflows would need change, and that would kind of be a copy paste thing. So if you're just looking for I will make that change into the Istio adapter workflow, and after that, maybe someone, if you're interested in writing GitHub workflows, you can just copy paste that into all of the other adapters. So, and we have really a lot of them, even like five of you. If 5 of you sign up to basically do these things, we have 6 adapters, so more adapters than people. uh, and okay, I can also talk about the next thing. So we support okay, so there is this dynamic there is a lot of dynamicism in adapters. So every time a release is made, we check for the latest particular version of that service mesh, what workloads of that service mesh is up. So currently we don't actually, we just push it to the adapter. Okay, no one else knows that what particular components for a service mesh we support. So a little bit of change that I made, which would be in the already existing workflow that we had. All I would need is that inside of the docs, in what directory we need that to be pushed. So every time a release would be made, something like this would be displayed onto that particular version number. So supported components for Istio, this version is okay. So these are all workloads that we support for this particular version of this service mesh. So we can display all of this, and that would happen every time a release is made. So and this would be pretty quick, and I would make this change again in the adapter, and it would just be a copy paste in all of the other adapters. So if you are looking to start contributing in workflows, so that can be a thing after I basically merged it into an Istio adapter. So yeah, these are the two things that I want to talk about. And these end-to-end workflows, we're going to use them a lot in a lot other places as well. And yeah, that's about it.
Questions, comments? Yep. Hey, so a brief repeat of the last set of discussions that we just had. We were talking about the same thing. We were talking about quality assurance in the Meshery project specifically. Talked about it from two perspectives. One is driving integration tests. As Mario informed us, these E2E, these end-to-end integration tests driven from one of Meshery's clients, Meshery UI. You can imagine a Meshery user, they're using the mouse to interact with Meshery. Well, there are bugs around where mice click, right? So it's like we need to do testing from Meshery UIs from that vector, from that starting point. We also need to do, as a project collectively, we need to do testing from other perspectives, from other vantage points. Meshery CTL, it's the CLI for Meshery. Running tests from that starting point is also an excellent thing to be doing. And actually, in part, what Ashish was just covering, I believe, under the covers is using Meshery CTL in a few places. And so anyway, between these two topics, we're kind of covering how to do functional testing, which is distinct from unit testing, from both front end and back end. The way that Ashish is pushing the project forward here on this back end testing is starting out with a focus on one of Meshery's components, Meshery adapters. There's one Meshery adapter for each and every service mesh that Meshery supports. If you have filled in your community member form, you'll have access to the community drive. In the community drive, there's a Google slide called Meshery architecture, and it will help better explain what a Meshery adapter is, or you can just go to Meshery docs. Suffice to say, though, we have 10 service mesh adapters. That's a lot of opportunity for bugs to emerge. So Ashish is trying to beat back the bugs, and he's doing so using GitHub workflows, such that anytime someone makes a pull request, and even after that happens, the adapter code is compiled, but really to test whether or not the adapter is doing what it's supposed to do, which someone like Ashish who's sharing might bring up the Meshery docs and tell you that what a Meshery adapter is supposed to do is speak to and manage its respective service mesh. So in this case, here's Istio. That adapter is supposed is supposed to talk Istio speak, because Istio does certain things while other service meshes do other certain things. Well, really, in order to flex the adapter's code, you need to run integration tests, which is to say that you need a Kubernetes environment, you need a Meshery server, you need the Meshery Istio adapter, yep. And then you need to run through some tests that provision the service, do all the things that Ashish had said. So good. I just did a brief recap just to make sure that like everyone who's on the call, whether you're new or not, like everyone that's on the call recognizes the opportunity to engage here, especially if Golang isn't your thing or React.js isn't your thing. By the way, there's a lot of other technologies that get used in the community other than those. You can find them in the Community Handbook, but this is a great way to engage and to both learn and make a significant impact in the project. The project is just over the hill in terms of its age. So we're about to release the 0.6 version, which means it's downhill from here to 1.0, which means we need to tighten up the project and get quality, ship shape. So yeah, if you want to make an impact on the project, these are two excellent areas to jump into. And like it or not, we're going to keep talking about these areas because we really do need to focus on quality. That spreadsheet that was being looked at, it needs to turn to various shades of green. There should be green all over that thing at some point. Why? Because we're doing lots of tests and the tests are passing. At some point, we start out manually tracking this. So Mario was pointing people to the spreadsheet saying, hey, jump in, engage. We don't have all the test cases listed. Meshery does a lot of things. They're not all articulated in here. So certainly new lines need to be added. If you see someone's name, like poke them or bump them aside, or there's a lot of things going on. So don't be shy to ask people if you can help or if that's an area of interest, that specific line. But what Ashish was trying to do is level us up a little bit. So Ashish was saying, hey, there's a number of integration tests that are being run against Meshery adapters now. And that's fantastic in the moment when a pull request has been opened or a pull request has been merged. Good. Part of feeling confident that anyone can click the merge button is seeing a bunch of green lights across these integration tests. Good. The thing is like he's helping the project take the next step, and he's saying, at any given moment, if I were to come over as a user and say, hey, what's the health of the current release? Like how are those tests looking? I'm using the older release. I'd like to go to this new one. Should I be confident in taking a step forward? That's a question they might have. Another question they might have that Ashish might show us in the Meshery repo under the issues section, there's a highlighted issue called Compatibility Matrix. So another question that people might have outside of just wanting to get a quick confidence level read on the quality of a given Meshery release, they might also have a question like, well, so is Meshery currently compatible with the latest edition of Linkerd or some version of Kubernetes? Or so Ashish, did you already say a few words on this, or do you want to say a few words? So there's a difference between tests passing and compatibility with external systems, but the two are highly related. So that pause was for Ashish to say some things, but ultimately what Ashish is enabling the project to have is basically kind of what you see in the screenshot here. It's just an example of a compatibility matrix. So part of the integration tests, when they're done and we see those green lights and we click merge, well, those test results kind of get lost to the annals of GitHub. Instead, what he's championing an effort to do is to centralize the output of those test results so that they can be exposed in a page in Meshery docs, so that when someone wants to know how healthy is the project, how is the project doing, both from a quality perspective, and because these are integration tests where a particular Meshery adapter for a certain service mesh like Linkerd, if that test pass against a certain Linkerd version, well, that kind of means, not kind of, but it very specifically means that this version of Meshery is compatible with that version of Linkerd. So those same results can bubble up into a compatibility matrix as well. Right now, there is a compatibility matrix out there on the docs, and it's static. Right? And some of those numbers haven't been updated for a while. Good. So that's what those two things are about. Like, I really encourage you to reach out to, in the community, to the folks that you just heard from. Abhishek Kumar is also digging his heels in. Yeah, go ahead. Do people have questions, comments? Yeah.
While we are on the subject of testing, like Piyush, like, would you like to quickly point out to some of the work you have been doing in and around Meshery CTL and advancing the unit test coverage in Meshery CTL, and also how
Okay.
people
Hi.
can get involved?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so Messery CTL has its own kind of an area where we test things. So let me just demonstrate where we are running these tests. Okay, so let's open any PR. If you open any PR, you will see these two things here at the very bottom. One thing is Golang unit test and integration test unit tests, and second is integration test. Okay, there are two types of testing we are doing in Messery CTL. First is unit testing, which basically checks we kind of mock the backend response from the Messery server, and we try to check if the behavior of the command is exactly that it is supposed to be, and that is the one kind of testing we do. The second is the integration testing, where we actually try to deploy Meshery in Docker and Kubernetes, and we try to run different system commands like start, restart, logs, almost all of them, to make sure that whenever someone is deploying Meshery in their system, the commands are running. Okay. So how do someone should engage into this area? There is a whole what should I say, a guide written about Messery CTL that has the guidelines about how you can actually start writing these tests, how you can improve them. There is a high demand of people to improve these tests, to be honest. Let's say I have opened an issue just now that actually wants to improve the Messery CTL integration testing. And I have written that right now in integration testing, we are deploying the Messery in a cluster on Docker platform on both of these, but we are not actually checking after each command if Meshery is running or not. Like after start, we should confirm if Meshery is running now or not, because sometimes it fails and we don't know. It might fail in real case, but during the testing we fail to detect it. So there should be another check to verify if Meshery is running after executing system start. So these kind of things needs to be improved in the testing areas. So how should someone go here? It's not like that you have to you will find issues here, but I'll ask you to actually go deep down into the test, what we are doing there, and how you think we can improve them, because that is how we will improve the test efficiently. Because as I might have missed something, another person might miss something while writing these tests, but if some other guy or other person will check the code, and he might get an idea how he can improve that particular test very efficiently. That is one area.
And if you, there are many areas to engage with Messery CTL. Like there's a whole a very big issue that we want to generate reports with system check. There is a command in the system. We want to generate diagnostic reports. And this is for the case whenever a user is facing something, but he fails to get the supposed behavior. So we want to create a command that actually grabs all kind of stuff like logs, many kind of reports, so that we can debug how exactly was the system behaving during that user was trying to do something with Meshery. There is a whole, if you are interested in like writing docs, there is a really good issue then that we want to do is we want to record the terminal sessions. We want to record how exactly a system command works, and we want to add all these videos or kind of GIFs to the Messery CTL docs. That is also one area. If you want to engage, you can engage here. And yeah, some of you might will try just clicking on component Messery CTL and see what kind of issues are there. That is one way to like get started and know where you can improve Messery CTL. But there are many things that you can actually do if you go to the code. Like there are commands like perf, there are commands like mesh, and some commands like config, and many more, which are used very less in comparison to other commands, and they actually requires a lot of they have a lot of areas to improve on. So I will ask you guys to use those commands first, try to see what can be improved, how what can be the additional features you can bring on the plate. So use them first, and then try to go to the code and think of the ideas you are going to bring on the plate and improve those Messery CTL commands. I guess that's it. I have spoken what I had in my mind.
Yep.
I should stop.
Thank you, Piyush. Yeah, I like all of these tests, talking about all of these tests and everything. Like it might be hard to hard for newcomers to digest all this in one sitting. So yeah, but still, this is as we mentioned, you being a user is the best way to start contributing, and best way to make a lot of impact right off the bat. Any comments on this, or so we are almost at time, and I think we have one more topic left. So before that, if anyone has any comments. All right. So
I did wanted to raise a point on that comment to the right about Piyush's answer, but maybe I could just answer that on the Slack. The part of the Piyush answer to the right, there's this comment in document, you see? That's okay, separate subject, so maybe we can take that on Slack.
Okay, okay, sure, cool.
And on the final topic for today, the workflow to alert newcomers on Slack. Do we need to discuss that on the call now?
Yeah, we should just give a quick so Pranav, do you want to give people a quick overview?
Yeah, I will just share my screen quickly and show you how it works and how it helps everyone on the newcomer channel. Is my screen visible?
Yep.
For $2, it is. By the way, there's a standing rule in the community. If you ask if your screen is visible when you're in a time crunch, and then you spend 10 seconds, or like when I comment, you spend another minute on whether or not your screen is visible, it'll just cost you $2. So that's all. Yeah.
Okay.
Continue.
So I would say that initially, like, every maintainers had to like explicitly write about a new issue which was coming up on different repositories. So this was like very difficult for everyone to keep track of. So instead of that, like, there was an initiative of writing a workflow which can automate this whole task. So what I've done is that I've added a workflow, which this is a workflow which on every whenever a new issue is opened or an issue is labeled with good first issue label or first timers only, then it automatically sends that link to that particular issue onto the our newcomers channel. So like we also did a test today and it was working fine. And the only thing is that we need to replicate this particular workflow onto all of the repositories. So no, and the change, there shouldn't be any change, it should directly be added to other repositories. So newcomers can if anyone wants to contribute to it by adding this workflow, then feel free to do it. And we really need help on that because there are around 60 repositories, so it's little difficult to directly add on. So if anybody wants to get hands-on on writing workflows, then this is a really good start. And that's all for this. Any comments? I've already added the link for the PR which I made and the actual workflow. So if anybody wants to have a look, so they can have from this particular link. That's all.
This is like really great, Pranav. Like I for one, I think people would definitely benefit from having good first issues shorter them, so newcomers can jump in and take a look at it. So yep, as Pranav mentioned, feel free to get involved here if you just want to start contributing. And all right, I guess that's all the time we have today and all the agenda we have today. So I guess we'll see you next week on all the other calls that we have every day, or we'll see you on the community calls next Friday. So have a great weekend and bye bye.
See you guys.
Bye. See you.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Good weekend.